Alright, we've been coding this application for a while, but we have not tested it yet. So let's go ahead and test the app and see where we are at this point in time. So I will simply go on the terminal, and I'm already in the folder. I'll type node app.js, and once it's running, let's just go to our browser and simply browse to localhost :3000. So let's pick a file. So let's pick this file, click on open, and let's click on upload. So you can see the progress bar went by pretty fast because it's simply copying the file locally from one folder to the other, since I'm running the app locally. It also gave you a saved message, a status message. So once the saved is received, it means that the file should now be in our S3 bucket, and an entry for the image should also be made in the MongoLab database. So let's just go ahead and see if we are getting that. So I'm already logged into the MongoLab account. I'm going to go into the Photogrid database that we have. And you can see that we indeed have a collection called single images. Let's just go into single images. And we do have an entry for a file name, which you can see over here, with a word count of 0. Now let's log into the Amazon Web Services console. So let's go to aws.amazon.com. And let's go directly into the AWS Management Console. And click on S3. And let's go into the Photogrid bucket. And you can see we do have an image here. So if I just click on this image and click on properties, I will get a direct link, and if you simply right click on the link and open in a new tab, you should be able to see the image that we uploaded from the Photogrid app. And you can also notice that the width of the image has been reduced because we have been using the Graphics Magic API for resizing the image down to 300 pixels in width before we upload to the bucket. So the app is indeed working. Now what we need to do is, once the photo is uploaded, once the image gets uploaded into the S3 bucket, the next thing to do is to update the gallery in this section. So let's create the route and the JavaScript code to go along. So let's first go into the routes.js, and I'm going to create a route, router.get, and we'll call this as /get images. Let's create the callback function, request, response, and next. And what this will do is it will take the model, so single image model dot find, and within the find I will simply provide with an empty set of brackets, which means that I need to access all the records, comma, function, where you'll get error, comma, result. So the result should contain the entry for each and every image that we are uploading into the S3 bucket, along with its word count. So we want all those images, we want all those results, and once the result comes in, what we'll simply do is we'll do a response.send, and this response is the router's response. Okay, so response.send, and within the send we'll put json.stringify bracket result. So let's run this app. Let's just restart the app rather, and let me just try and access this route and see what we get. So get images, and you'll notice that it queries the database, it queries the MongoLab MongoDB database, and it returns back an array which contains the record for the image that we had uploaded. So once you have this route, go into the index.html and let's write the render list function which we were calling on the socket.io do update event in the previous video. So let's create a function called render list, and what this function does is it calls the Ajax method, much like how we are using the Ajax in the upload now function. We are going to use the Ajax in this case to call the get images route and get the JSON result. So within the Ajax function, let's first put the URL. So URL in this case would be host plus / get images, and when the success function is received, the success function will have the data which it receives from the Ajax call. What we want to do is we want to first create a variable called image list, and we'll set this to json.parse data.response. So what this achieves is that it takes the stringified version of the array that it receives from the Photogrid app, and it converts it, it parses it into an array which we can loop on. Now if you scroll down to the actual HTML that represents the gallery, it's simply an unordered list, and within this unordered list we have every list item is a structure which we can repeat. So let me just copy this entire thing and we'll turn this into a template. But before that, let's create a for loop. So I is equal to 0 and I is less than image list, which happens to be an array dot length, and we want to increment I by 1, and let's create str, and I'm just going to paste the whole thing, and line by line I'm going to convert this into a template that we can construct. Now at this point in time, on this particular line, we want to close the h4 tag over here, and we want to append or concatenate image list square bracket I, so that it accesses that particular record, dot votes, because this is where the vote count comes in. Also, one more thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this line, and I think I seem to have missed on this. We want to create a data attribute over here called data-photo ID, and what this will be set to is image list bracket I dot underscore ID. So for now, just create this data attribute, and we will be using this in video where we create the vote up functionality. Essentially what this underscore ID does is it brings in this part of every record. So this unique ID which the MongoLab or the MongoDB storage assigns, this is what we will use, and that's why I'm using the underscore ID notation here. So let's continue building the template. Now this is a slightly lengthy process, so if you're comfortable doing this on your own, you might want to skip a few seconds forward. Alright, so we have more things coming up over here. Now this is where the complete path of the image that we are of the images that we are loading from the S3 bucket comes in. So the first part of the URL of the source URL can be taken from going into the S3 bucket, and if you remember, we had opened this image, and a part of this URL can be copied straight away. So we can copy this much part, which represents the S3 storage, the server URL, and the Photogrid bucket. You can just copy the whole thing like so, and you can put it over here. Right, and after this we want to append the image list bracket I dot file name. Because we are loading the images from the S3 bucket, we need the absolute URL to be constructed for every image. And since the MongoLab database only contains the file names, this part of the URL remains static for every record. So it's better to put it like this. All right, so moving on, let's finish this. And once you have constructed this entire template, the next thing to do is to access the unordered list, which would be done by accessing the accessing this div with a class name of gallery. So I'm going to use jQuery, and we'll say gallery space ul dot append, and we want to just append the str. So one more thing that I should do at this point is I should just go scroll down to this part of the code and just comment this out, and let's just run the app and see. In fact, the app is running, I believe. So I'll just load this in. And one other thing that I should do is I should also run the render list function once, so that whenever the app loads, this function is executed. So let's just refresh, and you should be able to see the image directly from the S3 bucket. Now let's load another image. So let's just put in this image. Let's pick this one. Click on upload. Let's wait for the saved status over here. There you go. And you can see the image. One problem which you can see straight away is the images are repeating. Now the reason why this is happening is because we are not clearing out the unordered list. So let's just make a tiny change over here, and that tiny change would be that I need to access the unordered list and just set a blank in the HTML so that the entire list is re-rendered. And there you go. Now let's just try and upload another image. Click on upload. Let's wait for the saved And once you get the saved, you can see that these 3 images are getting loaded from the S3 bucket. Now, in terms of performance, the S3 bucket, the way we are accessing the S3 bucket right now is like a file server. A file server is not necessarily optimized to serve media such as video files or images or sound files. So in the next video, we will try and optimize the way we are delivering files to our app.